Hello, everyone. Welcome to Next Big Future. I have a guest with me today, Randy Kirk, who also has his own YouTube channel, which I've been fortunate enough to guest several times on. And so we're going to talk about LK99 and a bit of Tesla and how there's actually some similarities between them and how they're perceived. Okay, so welcome, Randy. How are things
How you
going?
doing? I'm excited to see that somebody pulled the fork out of the
Yeah.
LK99 story.
Right, right. So one thing people who aren't aware. So LK99 is the proposed room temperature superconductor from Korean researchers who rushed out like two different papers because of some conflicts within their own group. But they made 8,000 different samples of this thing, 10% of which work. And when they make a sample, any replication of those things, you start with like a pound of material and they end up with like a grain or a flake of something that works. So it is a difficult thing to do. And also they have done some work with something called chemical vapor deposition, where you make a thin layer of the material. And that thin layer material is the only one where they claimed that they had superconducting or near superconducting levels of resistance, which is 10 to the minus 10. You need like less than a 10 billionth of an ohm of material of resistance. If you're up at like 1/1 millionth, 10 to the minus 6, you're only at metal levels. You're not to the level of superconductor. Randy, I'll just describe the latest developments, because a lot of people have been saying that the researchers made huge mistakes. They, when they couldn't replicate in the bulk form, they said that there's no no emperor's clothes. Although on the simulation side, there've been many more favorable things where they think that this could work. So
and one of the things that we talked about yesterday on my channel was that this thin layer approach was part of the paper, and that nobody had actually replicated that before doing their testing. And all the people that are sticking a fork in it were basing it on a different formula. Well, not exactly. So in some cases, a different formulation or a different strategy in terms of the mixing of the souffle, as you like to put it. And couldn't get the right results. But even those who got what they thought were the right results didn't take the extra step of doing this thin layer coating.
That's right. That's right. So the development overnight was that BPS Awana, an Indian researcher at CSIL, who has a pretty good rating, scientific rating, 43 or something like that. Not what all the ratings are, but he's fairly well respected. He tried twice before. He gave a paper in July 31st, and he gave a paper August 7th, again, all preprints, on his attempts to do it. And he failed both times. 2 times he failed on it, but he was a bit persistent, and he took up the Koreans on their offer of, we will help anyone trying to replicate. So he went to the trouble of actually picking up the phone, talking to the guys who said that they would help, who did it, and said, hey, we'll help you make your copies of the R souffle, right? And the latest attempt, he succeeded. He got the thing to nicely levitate and do stuff. We'll see what he gets from his preprint paper, which would probably come out in a day or 2 days or something like that, which would then show what his results were. He's doing a lot of stuff on Facebook and that kind of stuff. But basically, I'm not expecting full results, but he did in his second paper, which failed to get experimental results. He did get a first principles analysis, again, the kind of simulation kind of theory analysis that said, I think there's something there, right? I think I think it can work. It's promising. We can figure out how to make it work. So that's a good starting point of like, I'm going to give it a fair shot. I'm going to put in extra effort and diligence, and I'm going to find ways to make it work, as opposed to find the first plausible explanation why the other guys are idiots.
Right. So this would be similar then to the Berkeley labs who took that same first principles approach and hasn't done any actual cooking that we know of.
Yeah.
And they came up with the same conclusion that there's something here.
Yeah.
In principle, this is a potential breakthrough.
Right. Again, still a lot of work to be done.
Right.
Right. So why is this similar to Tesla? Right. Is because Tesla's saying they're going to try and do amazingly difficult things, full self-driving, other things like that. But many people will take a surface view of it and say, or they'll purposely try to find why it doesn't work, right? So there's a TSLAQ out there, right, where they could be respected in other fields, financial analysis or other things like that, or even have some technical things where, hey, I'm working on, like you're not going to get a positive review of FSD from someone who works at Waymo, right? You're not going to get a positive review of FSD from someone who works at Cruise. And then people who are looking at auto analysis could give bad reviews, or like make a video and say, here how FSD is failing, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying that I'm necessarily going in this case, but if someone spends several days on the potential breakthrough of the century and dismisses it after 10 tries, okay, I'm done. 10 tries. Yes, my the Berkeley paper says you have to get the copper ions in exactly the right spot, and it could be very, very difficult to do. They said, I'm going to ignore the people who say it's very hard. I'm going to follow the 10 steps in the Rush paper. And then if I don't get the result, I will analyze my unchanged thing and say it's crap. Or they say it's changed, and I'll say, I think it's just copper sulfide, right? That's what another big paper from Beijing or some other places say, that they made the mistake where it's just copper sulfide. Again, the levitation part and the transition up at a high temperature, they explain two parts of it, but then there's two other key parts, which is thin film, and there is, does it superconduct, like a Chinese paper says superconducts at 100 degrees Kelvin, minus 160, which is far from room temperature. But right, in the world of superconductors, having something at 100 Kelvin with a new mechanism,
right, is
still a huge deal, right? Because it's a pathway to something that could be hugely good. It's like if there's, two ways to do nuclear fusion, and I come up with a third way, even though it, has difficulties, it's kind of like you have a new way to something insane, right? And go ahead.
Yeah, so the similarity to FSD, when they started out doing FSD, they were labeling everything. It was all in 2D. It was the 2D had to be, any kind of 3D had to eventually be simulated. There was all these difficulties that took massive amounts of human labor, but then, and so it looked like, wow, can we ever get there? And they ran up against limitations as to what they were able to do. And then all of a sudden somebody has another breakthrough and says, well, what if we actually did this as a 3D? Mm-hmm. And that was the first breakthrough. And then there was, and what if we automated the labeling? That would be another way that we could speed this up and make it less expensive. And they still got up against some kind of limitations. And then they said, well, wait a minute, maybe with this breakthrough on ChatGPT, the GPT approach, now we don't have to label at all. We can just actually throw the video from the car or even other video. We can throw that video into a GPT type of deep learning approach. And now we eliminate labeling, we eliminate all these other steps, and we also go past all the limitations that we were seeing. So you could see the same thing, I suppose, on this LK99. What needs to happen next?
Right.
I think you said something about doing thousands of batches, et cetera. Would that be, that's one of the approaches you, I think, have recommended.
Right. Yeah. But it's the kind of thing where it's, you need to master the few small batches. You don't want to scale up a process that doesn't work yet, right? You need to, master the one and be able to master the testing of the one, right? So that then if I can do 100 at a time, 1,000 at a time, I can then, characterize it properly and know if I found something. Because the whole point is to start taking, if I have a pile of hay, instead of like one straw, okay, not a pin. But I have to be able to say straw or pin. I need to be able to have that be, 99.9% correct to say straw or pin before I grab a handful and lay them out and then go, okay, these 100 straw or pin, right? I need to be able to have that process of taking more and more of it, and then taking shovelfuls of the haystack, and then laying them all out. Have a process of spreading them out, and then have a little scanner picture thing. Okay, where's the pin? Where's the pin? Or run a magnet over the whole thing. Have some kind of process of scaling, right? In order to search more.
And then from that point, then this idea that maybe gold or silver would work better. Now you've got a formulation, you've got a recipe. You can start playing around with different versions, slight variations on versions, feed that into an AI program, and potentially start having the AI even say, oh, you know what, platinum would be even better, or I'm making it up, I have no idea.
Yeah, right. So the thing, but it has to be, you have to be able to say superconductor, non-superconductor, right? Yeah. So because that's the whole point in what the LK99Q says is the resistance is too high, not a superconductor, right? So you have to say, under what part are we talking about a superconductor? Only a tiny little piece of the grain is maybe superconducting, because it's like if the copper ions at the molecular level aren't in the right spot, it doesn't work. Like you may only be getting, a few chains of a superconducting, where basically quantum well, this chain is superconducting, and it has enough of effect, enough percentage to be superconducting across my flake, right? If I get, some threshold, 5%, 10%, 20%, approximately in the right spot, right? So there is something where it sounds to me like it's at things have to be pretty well arranged on the molecular level in order for, but the fact that you can even, I don't have to like precisely lay down, 1 copper, 7 lead, 1 copper, 7 lead, because we cannot get atomically precise manufacturing. We don't have it. Right. So, but if it's like 1, 6, 1, 8, 1, 7, and it's all kind of like on average in that area, close enough that we get enough of an effect, then that is still, a big breakthrough. But it's something where just doing a bulk analysis doesn't do it. So if I can do layers, atomic layer, then I can do 7 layers of lead phosphate, a layer of copper, 7, so I can do stuff at a chemical vapor deposition where I'm dealing kind of with molecular, some levels of molecular precision, right? How do I, make a ultra precise computer chip, right? I'm, doing the layers, I'm doing chemical processing. They're doing the doping, sticking little extra bits of molecules where they want, right? But it's taking something that's $1 billion facility or a $50 million machine and laying things down precisely, which the national labs have, right? But I've not heard them apply this level of technology. But it's like, why would you not apply this level of technology to something that could be a multi-trillion-dollar world-changing game changer,
And they may be doing it. They just haven't.
They may be doing it, right?
Yeah.
They may be doing it. They haven't told us, right? Yeah. Again, because if I have that tech and this is and testing and tooling equipment, and this is potentially that important, then I would race ahead especially if I get good results, figuring it out. And then, of course, clearly I have to make it bulletproof, because if I toss out something that kind of says something's promising, I'm going to get attacked by all these people, right? So I only want to go out there when it's helpful and useful to me to say that, right? But within the labs, there could be some politics, like, the person who did the 6 hours of simulation on the supercomputer had to justify the time. It was a junior researcher who said, give me the 6 hours on the supercomputer, right? So it had to be this kind of like bartering thing. It was like, oh, yes, it's big enough, we'll check it. So it's a question of how much resources are they willing to give to this thing, and they have to believe it's promising enough. So what do I see going forward is that there needs to be serious resources applied, but there needs to be justification for it. We need to have some of these persistent researchers, the Koreans, this Indian BPS Awana, give good results, promising results, so that more justification can be made, where someone isn't saying, you're working on something that's been disproved. We already think they made this mistake, and I don't like their paper, right? So there has to be enough there so that we can get more resources applied to this thing, right? Because I've seen other things like molecular nanotechnology, atomic synthesis manufacturing, where the mainstream guys show that's too hard a problem. We can do all these other things with extreme ultraviolet chip manufacturing, which does work, or we can make carbon nanotubes. We're not going to go for this other potentially even more world-changing thing, because I can make enough here and I have expertise here. I can't figure this other one out. Right. So there's but I think it's promising that there are other people who are not giving up. I would expect stubborn researchers to think, I see promise in this thing, but it's a percentage. I see that maybe 1-2% of researchers, willing to be stubborn about it. But then whether within their lab they have enough sway, is it the senior guy who controls the lab who believes, or is it a junior person who believes, right? And can enough of the believers get enough thorough work to start changing the minds of people who want to dismiss it, right? So there's a bit of like science politics going on, just like with people who say Tesla can't scale, Tesla can't do this, can't do that. You're having this wall of disbelief from people who don't want to change their worldview, right? And so, but one of the key things would be the original researchers. They have to come out with a quality paper at the end of the month or next month to do something. They know, having done 8,000 samples, far more about what they've done. They know the thoroughness of their work. They now see the complaints from the other people. They have to be able to address it. So they have to have the competence to be able to address it. They have to be able to do and get the support to do the work upon it. But Korea is not unified on this thing. There's the Korean university guys who try to shoot them down, because there was some kind of stem cell thing back about 20 years ago in Korea, where they got embarrassed, where they said, okay, we can do blah, 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 a big thing. And then they felt, the whole scientific community felt embarrassed, humiliated by the fact that it didn't happen, right? So that's something going on in Korea, where they don't want to be made to look like fools over promising something, but then there are people who support it. So that also could be like why Samsung might not be all over this thing to at least try to make it happen, is because the guys who are embarrassed, the respected guys may have sway there, right? So we have to get enough work done, and fundamentally there has to be competence and some other thoroughness there. So if the guys were incompetent, if there is nothing there, that can still be the case. I'm just not leaping to incompetence and failure at this point, right?
Right.
I'm giving them, like, you can give me good paper, take the time, make it work, get some support to do it. Other labs with some resources, I'd like to, if you say that the computational work shows you that, oxygenating, adding other stuff, change the do it. If that is the potential to make it work that well. But I have a broader range of success. Is like, have we cracked the door open on a promising new area? That's important to know. It does superconduct at any range, right? Right now they're saying not superconductor at all.
Right.
Well, okay, at room temperature, not yet, or maybe only very difficult or very small pieces, and at 110 or whatever, because no one says let's not research the ceramic superconductors, let's not whatever, even though they're down at 77 Kelvin. Right. So if we're better than that, then so for all the other superconductors, they started at, okay, we start at 30 Kelvin for the, or 20 Kelvin for the first ceramic superconductor. Over 6 months to a year, then we get to 77 above nitrogen, right? So, but there was some initial thing of like, it definitely is a superconductor at 30. Right. If it definitely is a superconductor at 30, then everything's valid. It's about how do we make it better.
Right.
So you have to have a rock solid starting point for this thing, which the thing is, it's a different mechanism, different type, and the percentage, the purity thing, can they get it? But they've done purity stuff on graphene with magic angle. So you can start with very little and you can get the equipment to test it out at the very small level, right? So there needs to be something uncontroversial where, we bound it and say, for this, it does. And also the original guys have made stuff. So there's other groups testing their material to say, and what is my claim about this material? I'm very precise. Here's what I'm saying it does. It's not at whatever transition yet, but it's here's what it does. Here's why it proves our case. And then here's how we do the thin film part of it. Their thin film description of how they did it is too generic, too broad. There's a paragraph. It's saying we did temperatures between 500 and 1,000 degrees. It's like, it's not specific enough. They have to say, here's exactly what we did, and here's the stuff. And by the way, we made another piece for you. We tested it. Here's what we say it does. Have a piece. Because if they're the only ones who can make the souffle right, they can make more pieces and then give it to other labs and say, I know you haven't made your piece yet. Here's our piece. Go. Take and do stuff with it.
Right.
So if you have, I can make good pieces, I can test and characterize, and then I claim this about this piece. Here, have a piece. Because they can make enough to have 10 pieces, 20 pieces go around to the major labs, which why they haven't, I think the rumor was they did send it to one of the Oregon National Labs or to someone else. They gave it to one of the big labs.
They'd send them out to 2 different labs. Yeah.
Right. So we have not had them say, here's what, not a replicated piece, but a piece from the guys who say they have something. Right.
All they reported back was that there was the correct crystalline structure, but they hadn't reported back whether they were able to see the superconductor.
Right. So the characterizations of those pieces and making more and hopefully better version of the pieces need to be done. And the claims and the process need to be specific if you want replication. So one, test what they got, because it's not like, I made it and I lost it. No, they have it sitting there. Not that much, but they have it sitting there, right? Yeah. So have some other guys take a fair shot and say, okay, I don't trust your analysis. I want to do my analysis, but here, what is it? And then, we arrange the deal where I give you that stuff. So we need, but obviously they're not going to give it to, Tesla's not going to give it to Dan O'Dowd, right? Or they do give it to him, but it's like, there's there's, if you're trying to shoot me down, right, and being a big a-hole about it, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes, I get it.
Yeah. So that's I think taking a step back from the science and just think about the psychology of people.
Right. Sure.
Right. That's some of what has to happen. And the thing is, potentially biggest breakthrough in a century, some confirmation from your supercomputers, and then you don't want to do the freaking work to see if it's there. It's like, come on. And then surprising. Yeah. And the other, I can get people on the internet want to write it off and want to rush to, magic, non-magic. It's like, what's your ADD problem, right? So that's my review of what's happening here.
Well, just for fun, just before we went on air, I went on Twitter to take a look at on X, formerly known as Twitter. I went on and looked under IK99 to see what kind of activity was going on now. 2 days ago, the activity was 6, 8, 10 posts per minute. Now the posts are down to less than 1 per minute. So just because a few people said, "Oh no, it's off the headlines," it's just gone.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So so it is a herd mentality. This whole it's back, it's over. That the whole meme thing of it has to be one side winning or something like that. It's like certain events have to happen, right? Like anyway, so and there could be, like I said, my thing about patience and persistence is you have to it is not something that can be conclusively decided right away, and you have to look at specifically what is the claims and what are we testing. So we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, over the next few days, probably next week. And there's other news we'll talk about. But on to the Tesla thing, I didn't talk on my channel about it, but the lower priced Model 3, the rumor that from China, reported by Tesla Ray, that the new Model 3 will have mass production in September and will come out at a price of 200,000 won, roughly 200,000 won flat, versus 231,000 won for the current cheapest Model 3, which we said was $27,700, 11% over the 25K magic number, and without subsidies in China. I also looked at the pricing of the Model 3 in Europe and the United States currently. So the cheapest one, so US is about $40,000 even, US dollars for Model 3, and without subsidies. And then in Germany, it's 42,000 euros, 41,900 euros. In Spain, 39,900. So roughly $40,000 for the Model 3 in those two markets. So then if you take 15% off that, if you make a refreshed Model 3, if the rumors are true, in Tesla Germany, in Berlin, and in Austin, right? Then you could see
or Fremont,
yeah. Right. You can make a $34,000 version if you took 15% off. If the savings were 15% across the board,
yes,
$40,000, $34,000, which in the 25K car, but is a substantial journey to that. And then if you have a 7,500K subsidy in the United States, that takes you from 34,000 down to 27,700 bucks or 27,000 bucks. And again, some more refinement, improvement, 10% reduction in costs, controls, inflationary environment, supply chain issues, could see a $25,000 after subsidy without, a national subsidy. Because you can get below $20,000 now if you qualify for, California subsidies, Oregon subsidies, and all, blah, blah, blah. So I think that is very encouraging that we can get very close to 25K cars with Model 3. Any comments about that, my
Yeah,
observations.
the biggest question I've had about everything related to the Model 3, because I am a sedan guy. Okay. I'm still driving a Volvo 4-door sports sedan, because I just like the look and I like the way it handles and I like the size of it. And of course, I like the fact that it's 300 horsepower. And I'm an old car guy. Yes, we do have a Tesla in the house as well, and that's the one that gets driven 90% of the time. But the sedan look is one that I like. I'm not one that thinks the SUVs are great looking. I think the sedans look better. So what I'm looking for in this new version would not only be, I'm hoping for at least as low a starting price as current. I'd like to see it. Obviously, it'd be wonderful if the numbers are correct and we get 15% cheaper. I mean, if that new sedan has a good look, it looks sharp, looks modern, looks cool, looks like something I would like as a car guy. And we also have that kind of a drop in price. My question is going to be, how will they make enough? They're selling out of production now in Shanghai and in Fremont. No apparent plans to make them in Berlin. No apparent plans to make them in Austin. No apparent plans to expand Shanghai. So we're looking at, okay, we make it really a lot better. Maybe the margins are better. We can sell all we can make. There's no question about that. But what if it's a huge hit? How long will it take them to ramp up somewhere to more units?
Well, if Brian White is correct, isn't he saying that multiple lines of Model 3 and they're only changing one line so that they don't do it? So they wouldn't have to change another line as well.
Well, there's three. So I guess the Model Y and Model 3 run on the same line. And so you could do some shifting. I don't know if that's true both in Fremont and in Shanghai. And so, Model Y, we've been ramping like crazy and still everybody's, we're still selling out. Is there a chance that they would be able to maybe take some of the pressure off the Model 3 by shifting some of that Model Y production? I suppose that's a possibility. I don't know that for a fact, but Brian White also said, he was the one that cleared up my head on this. Sedans still do sell extremely well. It's just that we've forgotten what isn't selling is the $40,000 sedan. What sells is the $25,000 sedan, and they sell in huge numbers. So if we're going to get somewhere down close to that $25,000, $30,000 price point, this thing could be huge.
Well, the thing is that it gets to the same price as the BYD Han, the BYD Seal.
In China, yeah.
In China. So, BYD, they sell stuff even cheaper, but, getting into that, direct mano a mano, I have a 27K car, you have a 27K car, I can get down to the 25K car, if they squeeze margins a little bit. Then if BYD is selling, let's see, they're selling, I think a run rate of 1.5 million, they're going to 3 million, right? Maybe next year, something like that. And then they have the I don't count their hybrid stuff. So 1.5 million. So that's like 120,000, 130,000 per month, right?
Yeah.
So that's more than the 60, 80,000 per month of Tesla. So then Tesla could get, 40, 50,000 sales just from, directly competing with BYD. Right. Although I think they both can take share from the remaining ICE vehicles in the 25K segment in China. And also there are weaker China competitors, Chery, Geely, others like that, who might lose share to a 27K Model 3. So,
by the way, I would not write off Geely though.
Yeah.
They seem to be one of the more clever companies out there. I mean, they own Volvo and Polestar.
Yeah.
Their MG in Europe is one of the top selling electric vehicles in Europe.
Yeah.
I think they're one of the ones that I put in the category of probably going to be a major player when we get to the 26, 27 switch off.
Yeah. but I think that Tesla's skipping along. Like Warren Redlick doesn't like the fact that they devoted the effort to refreshing the Model 3 because he thinks it didn't end. But it's the kind of thing where they still share 79% of the processes with the Model Y. And now you say, okay, we're going to do the front rear casting things, which more aligns with the same processes of the Model Y. And they, so then if I make, this effort toward making a 25K Model 3 in China, it's learnings that I think are helping them figure out, some of these things will be common with the Model 2, the next platform. Right. So it's stuff where they're practicing, I think, the low-hanging fruit of the next generation car. So I think it's aligned with the high volume thing of that, right? And if I drop the cost by $3,000, $5,000, then that is a substantial thing. It's like, okay, I make this better, make this better. There, I don't have to totally dump the other manufacturers. It's like, oh, you're refreshing your C-Class Mercedes, something like that. Why are you doing that? But it's like it's still selling 500,000 units. I sell 1.2 million units of Model Y. I'm selling 500,000 units of this. It's not insignificant. It's like the number 6 selling car in the world. Right. So it's like, oh, I made that better. You have Corolla. Why are you doing anything with Camry? It's like Camry still sells huge numbers. So it's like I don't think it's that much effort, that much distraction, to do the refresh. So I'm
not at all. No, I'm excited about the refresh. And yes, again, I continue to say that it will be a catalyst, but it does need to be good looking.
Yeah.
And I have a fair good guess that given Elon and the team, their track record on style, they usually seem to know what they're doing.
And seem to be making a bit more Model S like, right? I think that's the more Model S like.
Sportier.
So sportier.
More like what Randy likes.
That's right. Okay, so basically we're both hopeful on LK99, long road ahead on that. And then hopefully we see really good stuff for the Model 3, the official pricing. It's really annoying. We're not getting official pricing on the new Model 3, and we're not getting official pricing on the Cybertruck. So
and we're not getting official pricing on the semi-truck.
Yeah. So that's the annoying thing. It's like tell us the price. Tell a lot of questions if you have that. So thanks for taking the time, Randy. We will probably talk again, and more videos from me. Sorry for taking the other time off. I was doing a lot of stuff on blogging and a few other things, but I will hope to get into a regular cadence on this other topics. So, but thanks for Randy for helping keeping me in the YouTube video on your channels. And, okay.
Good deal.
So let's talk next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.